If Premiere Pro keeps crashing or freezing when you export, don't worry, because in this video, I'm going to walk you through the most reliable fixes step by step. This is one of those problems that can feel random and frustrating, especially when your edit is finished and you just want to get the file out. The good news is that in most cases, the issue comes down to cache problems, GPU instability, a heavy export setting, or one bad section in the timeline. So we're going to start with the easiest fix first, then move into the deeper troubleshooting steps until your export works smoothly again. And if this tutorial helps you out, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more Premiere Pro fixes, and let's get into it. The first thing I want you to do is a clean start, because this is the most common fix. Premiere Pro builds up cache files over time, and when those cache files get corrupted or overloaded, exports can start failing, freezing, or crashing at the same percentage every time. To clear that out, open Premiere Pro, go up to Edit, then Preferences, then Media Cache. In that menu, click Delete. You can remove the cache files that are no longer needed, and this often gives Premiere a fresh start. Once the cache has been cleared, close Premiere Pro completely and restart it. Then try exporting again and see if the problem is gone. If it still crashes or freezes, the next thing to check is GPU instability. A lot of export issues happen because the graphics processing is causing a conflict, especially if your system driver is unstable or your project is using effects that are hard on the GPU. To test this, go to File, then Project Settings, then General. Under Renderer, change it from the accelerated option to Software Only. This tells Premiere Pro to rely more on the CPU instead of the GPU, which can make exports much more stable. After changing that setting, go ahead and export the same project again. If your export suddenly works, that means the GPU was likely the cause. Now, if you want a safer export path, use Adobe Media Encoder instead of exporting directly inside Premiere Pro. Sometimes the direct export route can be less stable, especially on larger projects. To do this, go to File, then Export, then Media, and instead of exporting immediately, choose Q. That sends the job to Adobe Media Encoder, which handles the export separately. This can reduce the chance of Premiere freezing during the process, and it's a great workaround when your timeline is heavy or your system is under pressure. Next, let's reduce the export load itself. If your file is too demanding, Premiere may struggle even if the project is otherwise okay. For the format, choose H.264, because that is one of the most common and efficient export formats for YouTube and general sharing. For the preset, start with Match Source, medium bitrate. This gives you a good balance between quality and stability without pushing your system too hard. If your timeline is especially large or your computer is struggling, you can also lower the resolution slightly as a test. Sometimes just reducing the output size is enough to make the export finish successfully. Another very helpful trick is to check where it crashes. If your export stops at the same percentage every single time, that usually means the problem is coming from a specific spot in the timeline. That is actually a big clue. Go to the part of the sequence that matches that export percentage and inspect what is happening there. The fix might be as simple as removing a clip, disabling an effect, or rendering that section before exporting again. In many cases, one problematic frame, one damaged clip, or one heavy transition is enough to break the whole export. While you're troubleshooting, it's also a smart idea to eliminate heavy effects temporarily. Effects like Lumetri Color, Warp Stabilizer, and third-party plugins can put a lot of stress on Premiere Pro during export. If you suspect one of those is causing the issue, disable them for a moment and test the export again. You don't always have to remove them permanently, but turning them off temporarily is a great way to find out whether one of them is the source of the crash. If the export works after disabling an effect, you've likely found the problem. At this point, if Premiere Pro is still freezing, it's time to look at system stability. Make sure your GPU drivers are up to date, because outdated or buggy drivers can absolutely cause export failures. On the other hand, if the issue started after a recent driver update, rolling back to a previous stable version may help. Also check that you have enough disk space available for exporting and that your computer has enough RAM to handle the project. If your system is running too many background apps at the same time, close any unnecessary so Premiere has more resources to work with. So to quickly recap, start by clearing the media cache and restarting Premiere Pro. Then test software-only rendering to rule out GPU issues. If needed, export through Adobe Media Encoder. Lower the export load, check the exact crash point in the timeline, temporarily disable heavy effects, and make sure your drivers and system resources are stable. Following these steps in order will solve the majority of Premiere Pro export crashes and freezes. If this helped you fix your export problem, please hit like, subscribe for more Premiere Pro tutorials, and leave a comment if you want help troubleshooting a specific export error. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.